Okay, bye.
Are you okay?
Uh huh.
Are you mad at me?
No, not at all.
I
I love you. Ugh. Well, that was fun. For those of you that have hung in here and waited, stuck this out, you are insanely loyal, and for that, I greatly appreciate it. Sorry about the late start today. So, we'll give this a couple minutes and see. Black XLC is here. Park Kingery is here. What's happening, fellas? Man. These one guitars. Alrighty. Russ Keeney was here. I think he might still be in. James 666, Joe Hervey, 84, Chaotic 1, Skilled Rook. Although some of these have, some of you folks, this is like more than a half hour ago. So, okay, some of you guys are still here. S Fear 6 are all here. So, sorry about the delay here this morning. And I'll tell you what, Park says he is going to work soon. So I am going, let's get the important thing out of the way. And that would be this guy right here. Because this is a care package of sorts from Mr. Park Kingery. And I thought I would share with you guys what Mr. Kingery has sent me. It's better if I turn the lamp on or off. I guess you guys can see it. Because I know what's in here, but you guys don't. And this is, I think this is pretty cool stuff. So he and I he wanted me to open this thing up with you guys here today. So, and I say care package because unfortunately I don't get to keep these. I'm going to send these back to him when I'm done very shortly. So, provided I can get into it. Because Park apparently used some industrial strength. There we go. Oops. Bam Mozzie is here with us. Michael D. These are pedals out of Park's personal stash that he was gracious enough to send me. And for me to demo, and there's a lot of really cool stuff in here that I have wanted to demo, but have not had the opportunity to. So, first we have the Seymour Duncan Palladium gain stage. Ought to be really cool. And we, man, how many pedals did you send me here, Park? I'm gonna have to rename my channel Park Kingery's Pedal Dungeon. Well, let's see. This is, looks like an Earthquaker Devices. Oh. What is this one, Park? It says run that 18 volt. I'm just run this one an 18 volt? Or the palladium? This one, Pepper's Petals. Okay. Okay, so this must be a Pepper's Petals. Satanist Distortion. Okay, pretty cool. Yeah, that might be like an HM2 something or other, or HM2 part. Yeah, Pepper's HM2 pedal. Not an HM2. Okay. Okay, he says run the Duncan at 18 volts. All right. And that's part. And that is a Pepper's Petals Satanist Distortion. Here is a Pepper's Petals the Green Bastard, which by the looks of it looks like it might be their Tube Screamer. Tube Screamer circuit, rather. Ah, Pepper's Petals PV Fury 158. I'm guessing that is the PV, the circuit from the old PV 158 combo amplifiers from 80s or the 90s or whenever those things were out. The little bitty, they're like 15 watts and an 8-inch speaker. Basically just little bitty practice hams, but that's pretty cool. That one will be fun. That one will be fun. Alright. Running out of room on my desk here. Let's see. This. Okay, that is a. Out of the same series as the Digitech cab driver. Oops, I'm sorry. He says that's a Mad Amp, not a Tube Screamer. Anyway, out of the same series as the Digitech cab driver that I just demoed recently is the Polara Reverb. So we're gonna get to demo one of those as well. That's cool. I haven't demoed very many reverb pedals on my channel. Done a few, but not too many. So that will be fun. I really like that series of Digitech pedals, and I really wish that they didn't Harman had not closed the doors on the Digitech brand. Let's see this one. That's a Horizon Devices something or other. It's a Misha Mansour. Looks like a Japanese precision drive of some kind. I mean, let's see. Interesting. So it's not. I think it's a precision drive. Yeah, it's a precision drive, but I've never seen one that color with the Japanese scripture. Okay, so it's a special edition of some kind. All right. All right, and this is the one that I'm most excited about. this has been the most interesting pedal to hit the market in years, in my opinion. This is none other than the Game Changer Audio Plasma Drive, and I've wanted to try one of these since I first saw it, because I think it was a really cool idea, and it should sound different from just about everything else. Let's plug that in right now. 9 volt, cool. Oops. That there off to the side. You guys might hear my dog going a little crazy this morning so far as well. People are already asking about the Satanist distortion. Let's see, special edition. The Satanist distortion is as heavy as hell in terms of heavy distortion. I don't know. We will find out, though. Not today. We're not going to find out, but we will find out. Alrighty. Let's see. Levels. Oh, that's cool. Well, wait a minute. and then the little plasma thingy, light up thing in the middle, totally dies out when you quit playing. So it's almost like its own built-in noise gate kind of thing. It's weird. Huh. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. It's, of course, this is just the very first time I've ever gotten to mess with one of these at all. But that's a pretty neat device. I want to try those out. It's it's a little more fuzz than I was anticipating. I was thinking it would be a little more. I don't know what I was anticipating. It's definitely unique, very unique, and fuzz with a little distortion. I mean, not like a rat type of sound, but I don't know. That's cool. Thank you, Park, very very much for sharing these with me. I am looking forward to doing videos on all of these. I think that's gonna be a lot of fun. So let me get caught up in the chat here. I don't know if there's been any questions in here yet, other than the one S-Fear 6 asking about the Satan's distortion. I have no idea. I haven't played that one yet either. So let's see. Dave R's Guitars has joined us. Looks like he's not going to be with us here very long, but glad to have you here with us, Dave. Sounds like Dave is preparing for a upcoming move soon. Hopefully that works out. Moving's not a lot of fun, but it's one of those things that's, you're glad to have it done when it's done. I'm in my current location we've been here for going on 6 years now. I think this is the longest I've stayed in one place in quite some time. Where are you guys moving to? Oh, we're going from Oregon to Arizona. Yeah, so that's not even kind of the same thing. Let's see. James666 says he recently bought a $40 guitar pick. What kind of guitar pick cost you $40? Even the copper picks from Forever Pick are only like $5. Iron Age guitar picks. The world of boutique guitar picks is a really fascinating part of the guitar world. Iron Age guitar picks. Let's do a Google. Let's do the Google. Iron Age. Looks like they do all, not just picks, but guitar accessories. Okay, they do engravings, and there's one for $5, and then they go up to stone picks, $22. Macassar. They make them add some exotic woods like Macassar, Macassar, however that's pronounced. Rosewood. LF Centurion. This looks like a stone pick of some kind. And they got some Jazz 3 stuff and some Jazz XLs and interesting. And they got some stuff called Xiphos Aegis Archon that are all in the $30-$35 range. Some kind of, I don't know what those are made of, opal or something. Huh. Interesting. Wonder what else they got here besides. Okay, so they got kill switches, guitar knobs, picks, of course, apparel, etc., etc. Guitar knobs, guitar picks. Okay, so you can get. I've seen these guitar knobs, I think. Oh, maybe I haven't seen those. Still fairly interesting. Oh, they make light up kill switches too. That's cool. Very cool. Okay. Well, now I'm gonna have to figure out which one of my guitars I want to install a kill switch like that in, because that's pretty neat. Cool. Didn't know about that company. Thanks for sharing that with me. Let's see. So far, so good. Get caught up with the chat here. I think this is mostly you guys talking amongst yourselves. Sounded good. Jack Attack is with us. Welcome to you. David Hill is here. I wonder if that is. I'm assuming that is David Hill from the Practical Guitarist podcast. David Hill, and he says, "How do you feel about FRFR?" That's got to be David Hill. Yeah, no, I hear you guys talk about it on your show quite a bit, and so to be honest with you, you're probably going to be a lot more familiar with it than I will. I mean, most of the FRFR stuff that I have seen out there, with the exception of the Line 6 power cabs, but like the head rush and that kind of stuff is it's for all intents and purposes as a PA speaker. Which is, for all, intended to be very flat sounding, and able to accommodate and be EQ'd easily for various different modelers, which again is something, that's another world that I don't dive into all that much. But, the modeling technology has come a long way, particularly in just like the last 5 years. Yeah, I'd say the last 10 years or so, when the Axe effects is first started coming out. But now the FRFR stuff is starting to get really, really popular. I've actually had a few customers who have bought the head rush cab, the head rush. I guess the FRFR head rush cab and the Line 6 power cab, and they've A/B'd them, back and forth, and they seem to like both, but they've all told me that the Line 6 power cab is by far and away the way to go, and sounds way better, and that's the one that most of those folks really seem to enjoy using the most. I don't know. I'm getting more into impulse responses and things of that nature via I just ran this pedal through the Moore radar, so for those of you that heard that and you kind of heard the tone change in me dialing through things there towards the end, that was me changing cabs. So I've gotten into that kind of stuff because it's it's actually practical for me in my applications. But I haven't dove into the modeling world. Man, I'm probably not going to be honest with you. Every time I've messed with any kind of modeler or effects processor or anything like that, I get frustrated and I get bored, and more than a lot sooner rather than later. Let's see. you guys are talking about critters and creepy crawlers, where Dave's heading down in Arizona. Uh, yep, scorpions, cougars, pumas, rattlesnakes. Spiders don't bother me. You can step on those as easily as I can anything else, I guess. Although, I tend to leave them alone because they're the ones that get a hold of all the other little critters that crawl around. Let's see. Put a kill switch on my Squire Affinity Strat. Yep. Go check out the kill switches at Iron Age Guitar Accessories because those look pretty cool. I didn't see what they sell for. Let's see if they got prices of everything else. Oh, they got a lot of different ones. So it's like the switches themselves all run around the $30 range. Yeah, 30, $32. There's one for 28. Comes with some picks and stuff. So, yep. Next time I need a kill switch for myself, I'm buying one of these. That's pretty cool. I kind of like shiny stuff and stuff on guitars that light up. David Hill says we recently discussed the Kemper on the Practical Guitarist podcast. There's been some dissension about FRFR or full cabs. You guys talk about the Kemper a lot on your show. At least you have been here recently. So, and I know you just dumped your Helix. So, you know, it was I kind of had a few other things going on when I was listening to you guys this week, but I did hear you guys talking about it. You know, I mean, honestly, I think it's you know, the FRFR thing. I mean, I think it's a good idea, and I think it's great that, you know, that a lot of the companies that are making modelers and making processors like that are all kind of finally starting to get on the same page together and design them in such a way that they can be used with the same types of cabinets and power supplies and that kind of thing. So, you know, hats off to those companies for that. But, you know, at the same time, I mean, I'm a 212 412 guy. You know, give me a tube head, and a 412, and you know that's just what I've always preferred and what I've always enjoyed. Let's see. Everybody I've talked to says that when they played a Kemper, they've been blown away with it, and you know, maybe that's why I haven't been in a big hurry to try one, just because, you know, I'm afraid I'm gonna like it too much or something. I don't know. Joe Hervey says we need more metal. Let's see. Janice Lawlow's with us. She's doing dishes while hanging out with us. Afternoon, Janice. Joe Hervey says, Robert, want to trade for my full bore. What do you want to trade your full bore for, Joe? Let's see. It's a lot cheaper than buying all those pedals, amps, cabs, mics, and whilst I won't get rid of my gear, and yeah, you know, I mean, that's obviously the advantage to, you know, to the Kempers and all that kind of stuff, is because, you know, you got literally just about everything all in one package. Although David did find, he did mention on their show earlier this week, you know, there's a few things that he has found that various fuzz types and stuff like that, the Helix will not do. And I think, pretty sure you had the full size Helix. You didn't just have the what do they call it, the floorboard, or the HX effects, or one of the smaller versions. I think you had the big one. So, but he did find a few things in there that it won't do, but generally speaking, yes, it's all in there. So, but yeah, that's kind of, I mean, I've got so many pedals, and I do use most of my pedals, even getting them on the, I mean, I use some of them more often than others, but I don't know. I like stomp boxes. I like stomp boxes. I like tube amps. I like big cabs and, stuff like that. Pardon me. Russ Keeney says, Robert, did your area get hit by tornadoes a couple weeks ago? We had 14 of them hit Dayton. We had one hit about 7 miles from here, as a matter of fact, and it was, well, they started watching it. Matter of fact, just from where I am, there's a big music venue, literally a mile down the road from us, it's called Ruoff Home Mortgage Music Center, formerly Klipsch Music Center, which was formerly Verizon Wireless Music Center, and before that it was Deer Creek for years. And that's the big summer concert music venue here in our area, one of them anyway, probably the main one. And I live about a mile down the road from here, and it was just on the other side of Ruoff that when all the tornadoes started hitting. It was literally just on the other side of there, so that the news folks interrupted TV and started tracking tornadoes and stuff like that. And it was I think they finally saw one about 7 miles from here, the opposite direction. But yeah, it was awfully close. I've got some some friends in the town that it did hit that were affected, unfortunately. So as does my wife. Like the ones with Mustang 5.0 logo with Boston. Gonna run. See you, Dave. Have a good one. Thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit today. The HD series ain't bad. Okay. Give me a minute here to get caught up on the chat, guys. You guys are chatting amongst yourselves. It is raining like crazy right here at the moment, though. So, I'm glad I cut my grass on Thursday because it's supposed to rain. You guys can't tell what it's doing out the window from that terrible camera, but it's raining like crazy right now, and it's pretty much supposed to do that all weekend long, which means I won't get to play golf. Okay, so David had the Helix floor. The power amp when laying around is kind of an effects heavy thing and didn't make a lot of sense for an amp sound guy like me. Right. Yeah, David's a Mesa Boogie guy, among other things, but I know you love your Mesa Boogie. I think is it a Mark 5 35 that you're using, or 25, one of the two? Let's see. Great amps. I demoed one of those way back when, in the earlier days of my channel, and that was one of the worst demos I ever did. And unfortunately, the buddy of mine that owned it at the time that I borrowed it from has since sold it. And because I would really like to get a hold of another one of those and demo it properly, because that one sounded terrible. Went to a Grateful Dead show at Deer Creek. Yep, the Dead used to come around every year, Deer Creek, every single year. And matter of fact, now Dead and Company, the John Mayer version, they were just here a couple of nights ago. Surprisingly, I thought the traffic was going to prevent me from getting home a lot more than it did, but fortunately it did not. It'd be hard not. David Hill says, Robert, favorite amp. My favorite amp, generally speaking, will say Marshall on it. I love the. I got two answers to this question. You know, my favorite, probably, I guess my favorite amp brand would be Marshall. You know, I love the 800s, I love the 900s, I love the old Plexis. I love the JVMs. I think are fantastic. The DSL 2000, the original the JCM 2000, the DSL 100s were are great amps. You know, the British made ones, and even the newer imports from China, newer versions of the DSL, both generations of them actually are sound pretty good, but particularly the JCM 2000s. Those are really, really good amps, and those are cool because they still don't go for a ton of money on the used market either. Those are very affordable. The Jubilees. I've gotten to play an original Jubilee a few times, and so I mean, I just the Marshall sound, the Marshall, just the way that they, the vibe that they produce, their clarity. And how so much of that tone, and I guess this is true with just about any amplifier, but it seems more so with Marshalls, that so much of their tone is reliant on the power amp section, and I just love Marshalls. I love the Marshall sound. However, if somebody were to walk up to me right now and say, I will buy you any amp that you want, so I will buy you any amp that you want, no questions asked, and it's yours to keep, I would probably pick a Diesel Herbert. So for the longest time, that the answer to that question would have been a VHT or VHT / Fryette Pitbull, which those are still great amps, but I played through a Diesel Herbert one time, and that was one of the most amazing amplifiers I have ever played through ever. And also one of the heaviest sounding, probably the heaviest distortion I've ever heard. So if somebody were going to walk up to me and say, you get one amp, no questions asked, I would probably go with the Herbert. But those things are also $5,000, which is why I don't own one. And they're also 200 watts, which is another reason why I don't own one. I don't know what I would, I'd figure out a way to use it, I guess. But 200 watt. 200 watt amp, for a guy like me that that's not playing out anymore. Again, I don't know, makes a whole lot of sense. So, favorite amps, those are my answers. And of course, if I were to, I could put together an entire list. Now that I'm thinking about that, I don't know. I may do a video on that one day when I'm running out of other stuff to do videos on. But yeah, Marshall or Diesel Herbert. Jack Attack says, this is nice, first time here, will return. Awesome, man. Awesome, glad you're enjoying yourself. Guess you're still talking amongst yourselves. Car stuff, which I don't know what any of that means. Hey, Mod Wiz 125 is here. Welcome to you. Other two bands for playing. One's about buddy's car. Car stuff. Mm-hmm. Trainwreck Fantasy Amp. God, I haven't seen a Trainwreck amp in a long time. Is that the brand? I think, yeah, there's a brand called Trainwreck, boutique company. I think I think Bruno amps. Didn't they also have a model called the Trainwreck or something like that? Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. That was a pretty cool amp. You know, Brunos are great. $65.05 is what I want. Great amps, man. You know, even guys that collect all the really high end, the really expensive stuff. You know, the diesels, the the Mezzabarbas, I'm in a Facebook group. I'm in a Facebook group called Groomed Noodlers, and those guys are especially the head admin of that guy or of that group. You know, this guy's got high end amps on top of high end amps, and like I said, he's got the diesels and the Mezzabarbas and the EV. I think he's got just about every EVH amp ever made to this point, and he loves them all, and he still every now and again he'll go and plug in his old PV 5150, and he kind of looks over at it compared to everything, because that thing's a third of the price of the rest of those amps or less. And so he's kind of sit there and kind of looking back, because it sounds killer, especially compared to all those other high end amp brands. STL Wool Putney Suite has a model. I've got some virtual amps, and I've got some that are pretty decent. One of them is even an STL. They're, I don't know. I guess I like the sounds of some of the virtual amps, that I've used in DAWs, but they a lot of the ones I'm using, I'm discovering they eat up a ton of CPU, and it adds more latency and stuff like that kind of thing, and it's it's annoying. So that's why here lately I've discovered grab my favorite preamp pedal or whatever that may be, and a cab IR and plug it in direct, and I've been getting good sound out of that method for recording lately. Let's see. I think you're in the Let's see. David Hill says Trainwreck is still around. Different dudes making them with Dr. Z. Okay. Z as the wreck, which is a Trainwreck descendant. Okay. Now that makes sense. I haven't seen one in a long time. But I think Bruno amps, I think they also had a model called the Trainwreck. As a matter of fact, if memory serves, that's like their flagship. They're such a teeny tiny little company that you don't hear about very much these days. Joe Hervey 84 says, Robert, I want a 6505 and add a tube screamer, I'd be set. A lot of people use that rig. A lot of people use that exact setup right there, and that's their tone, and you can do a lot with it. Yeah, David says I have a hard time getting 6505s to get super dynamic. Fun to play though. I'd like to have one for doubles and overdubs. Yeah, they're not the cleanest amps in the world. That's the one drawback, is if you like a nice clean signal to run various pedals into, 6505 ain't it. 5150 ain't it. That's one thing they do not do well at all. But I can't really think of very many, if any, Van Halen records where he ever played a clean guitar tone. But yeah, they don't do clean. They take pedals, but they don't do clean. They don't do clean. Running a distortion pedal into that thing's kind of useless anyway, because of those things, particularly the higher gain versions. The 5152 and the 6505 Plus. So, I don't know. The dynamics of I don't know. I'd have to plug into one, because it's been a while since I've been trying to teach myself to play with less gain these days in order to increase clarity, and articulation in my playing. I'd have to plug into one again. So I suppose I could plug into the 112 combo that I own and figured that out, but. Whoa, Russ Keeney says, I have a 76 Rickenbacker 4001. Replace the bridge with a Badasil, or Badass, Badass 2, maybe, what that is. Recently picked up a double neck Rick and considering doing the same. Any thoughts on this? If you found a double neck Rickenbacker, those are not easy to find. I'm hesitant to, rare instruments like that. I'm hesitant to make any modifications to it, because as soon as you do, chances are, whatever you do to it, you're going to devalue it. And, that's something that I tend to be conscious about. I don't want to devalue any of my instruments. I don't plan on getting rid of any of them. I'm still on the fence about the Vester guitar. I haven't quite decided yet, but if I'm going to sell that one or not. And, but beyond that, I don't plan on getting rid of any of them. But, if the day comes, I want to be able to get the most for them as I can. And change out, the swapping out of a bridge on a bass is not, at least for me, is probably not the be all. Is not going to make that much of a difference. So, if it were me, and the current bridge that's on there is still functioning, the way it should, I would leave it alone. Plus, an old instrument like that, that's just part of its vibe. So, talking Helix, Hyundai. Marshall. Yep. Jack Attack uses Marshalls. Attaboy. We get caught up on the chat. Park King is using Ampeg V2 for pedals. Great pedal. Those are actually great pedal amps. Great pedal platforms. And, a lot of people forget about those old, the old Ampegs. Especially because they, they were, I think they're still owned by St. Louis Music, but I don't think they've produced a guitar amp in forever. I think they've, all their focus has been on bass amps for, the last several years. Remember, at least I haven't seen a new guitar amp from them in a long time. So, let's see. Hey, Paul Fuchs is with us. Hello, Paul. Welcome to you. So, okay, so did any of you guys see, and it didn't get a lot of views, unfortunately, not as many as I was hoping. And the reason why I was hoping that it would is because I worked really hard on that video. But did any of you guys see the video that went up here the other day on the Moore radar? I know David did because he commented on it, but and a few others did. But like I said, it didn't get as many views as I was hoping that it would. And the main reason, like I said, is I worked real hard on it, and the particularly with the track demo portion, I put a lot of effort into that. So, I was hoping that I might get some feedback on the track demo. So, if you guys have a moment, go check out. Here, I'll even let's see if I can go track down the link real quick. That link that I just put there in the chat is linked to the Moore radar video. When you guys get a few minutes, if you don't mind, I would love to hear any feedback on that video, because I had fun making it, and like I said, the track demo I worked hard on. So. Joe Hurry says, Robert, can you tell a Guitar Center story? All right, I'll tell my favorite Guitar Center story. One of my favorites. We had a loss prevention manager he was a loss prevention manager, and he's still there. He was a loss prevention manager over the entire region. So, and that included, I don't know, he had like 12 states or something like that. I don't know how many exactly, but he had a big chunk of the country and a lot of stores. And his name is Bruce. And Bruce is Bruce is about 6'5", 6'6", and every bit of 300 pounds. He's a retired Chicago police officer. And Bruce is one of the most intimidating men I have ever met in my life. Nice guy, really cool guy, but he would always say, I ain't mad at you, that's just how I talk. And that's how he talked. And you always thought he was yelling at you, and he wasn't. That's just how he talked. But then there were times that he was yelling at you. As a rule of thumb, if Bruce shows up at your store unannounced, that is not a good sign. That means something happened, and somebody is likely going to lose their job over it. Well, he was in a visit to our store one day. Or no, I'm sorry. He was at the I think it was the Florence, Kentucky store, and he had this was a planned visit, so they knew he was there. He was spending the day doing checking up on some things and doing his job. Well, that same day, it happened to be a Saturday, and back in Pro Audio, apparently some genius kid, if you think back about, I don't know, 6 or 8 years back, you remember Pro Audio would have just these stacks of MIDI controllers and stuff like that all over the place out there, where, back when you couldn't turn around without bumping into something. And, for whatever reason, well, I know why, because people are stupid, but this particular dude was especially stupid. He decided he was going to grab an M-Audio controller under his arm, kind of did one of those real quick, and then just started trucking for the front door. Well, meanwhile, one of the associates back there in audio happened to see it, and, kind of yelled, "Stop that guy!" Bruce happened to be in the store. Bruce turned the corner to audio to see what was going on, just as this kid was hitting, was coming right there at the same time. He bounced off of Bruce like a brick wall and hit the ground. Bruce sat on him until the cops got there to arrest him. Oh boy. You you don't upset Bruce, then you certainly don't try to steal from him. Oh man, he's a sharp guy. He's a real sharp guy. I like Bruce a lot. Oh boy. So that's probably my favorite Guitar Center story, and you have to know Bruce. If you got to meet Bruce a time or two before you really kind of see how before you kind of get the full effect of it. But White skip. It was a great video. Not sure why it was skipped. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Something skipped. Boy. Store. Anything. Don't look him in the eyes. They tried to sell me extended coverage on a Boss pedal. Well, and there to, Turkey Trail Honey Feed. I can never say your entire username. Turkey Trail Honey Bee Farm, Georgia. Says they tried to sell me an extended coverage on a Boss pedal, a tank built Boss pedal. Yeah, and they're, that's their job. And just about any retail environment these days. Pardon me. Or not environment, but just about every retail company is offering, we'll call them extended warranties. That's essentially what they are. And Guitar Center offers them on just about everything. I mean, if it's something that plugs in, or there's even some things that they offer it on that even I'm still surprised by, and there are customers out there that, even Boss pedals. I have had people that are exceptionally hard on their gear that have bought them on Boss pedals. They're, as an employee, I kind of have to watch what I say here, but but they're a good value there for for those people that would like that additional peace of mind. So that's why they're there. So anytime you buy just about anything from Guitar Center, chances are they're going to offer it to you. So, but doesn't mean you have to take it. Going to GearFest. Yes, as a matter of fact, I am going to make an appearance at GearFest. And, I know both David and Jim are going to be at GearFest, as well as a couple of other people. And, of course, that's only, hour and a half north from where I live. So I am, at this point, I'm planning on driving up there on Saturday morning. And I'll spend the day and hang out and maybe even take a camera with me and, do some YouTube and stuff so that I'm doing something productive and then come home. I'm not going to buy any gear. I'm out of, no gear buying for me this trip. So, and I know Jim is kind of in the same boat. He's not here. He's not hanging out with us today, but Jim's in the same boat as well. And I know he's a couple of small things is all he's planning on picking up. And David, on the other hand, has got a list. David's got a shopping list, so he's David's going to do some gear shopping. But I've actually never been. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a fun time, and I'm finally going to get to meet. I've actually never met Jim or David in person, so it'll be a chance. I finally get to meet those guys in person and hang out with them. And they've got some star power lined up there too. The most notable for me is one Mr. Steve Vai is planning on being there. So, I don't expect that I'll get the chance to meet him or anything, but I would certainly like to see if he performs or puts on a clinic or something. Yeah. So, and I imagine there might be another YouTube personality or two that show up there that I would love to shake hands with. I think Glenn Fricker was there last year, and he's in Canada, just up over on the other side of Detroit, I believe. Or I guess now he's back and forth between there and L.A. So I suppose a lot of that may depend on what his current location is, but I'm hoping he's there because I really like Glenn Fricker's channel, and I would really like the chance to say hello to him. So I'm not going to be that guy walking around with a subscribe sign, desperate to grow my channel. I'm not doing that, but yeah, I am planning on going, and ought to be a good time. Robert, why don't Guitar Center deal with used guitar cases? Well, quite honestly, it's pretty tough to buy a used guitar used guitar case without a guitar inside of it. If they buy in a used guitar that has a case with it, of course they always try to get the case too, because that's, makes it easier to sell. And most stores have the means to store them properly and keep them organized. Doesn't mean one doesn't get lost in the shuffle from time to time. That happens, but buying used cases from somebody off the street, the reason why is because Guitar Center buys their new cases. One reason anyway. Guitar Center is able to buy their new cases very, very affordably, and what they would have to pay most people for to be able to buy a used case off the street is more than what it would cost them to get a new one. So from that is, and I get it, it just doesn't make sense. So used guitar cases are not, it's just it's a tough market. You try to get them when you try to get them when when you're buying a used guitar, but that's really about the only time. So I actually was on Guitar Hack's channel here just a couple of months ago, and we had scheduled it, and my day got hectic, and I basically, I apparently was the first one of his guests that had joined from the car, but I was in my car for the entire time. But I was on for an hour and a half or so, and we had a great time. We had a real good time. So. Matter of fact, a lot of his audience actually that's first discovered my channel that way. So now I'm Guitar Hack's great. Guitar Hack's a great channel. I'm very grateful for him. So with that take, we talked about doing it again sometime, but and hopefully we will. And I've also, I've joined, David and Jim on the Practical Guitarist podcast a number of times, and a few other podcasts, or another podcast called Bibster and the Ginger was on there one time. Oh, you're asking me if I'm planning on going on anymore. Any more channel. I don't have anything planned at the moment. Nobody's hit me up. When sometimes in those when any of those people that reach out to me, and are gracious enough to invite me on, I always try to make myself available to do it. But nothing planned here at the moment. When the Atlanta store was opening, they had a truckload. Yeah, here's the thing with I'm assuming you're referring to used cases. And now whenever they open up a new store, A lot of, you'll walk into a new store, and even if you're the very first one through the door, chances are you're going to find some used gear in there. And that store obviously was not purchased by that gear was not purchased by that store. Generally, they will pull some pieces of used gear from some of the surrounding stores, and I know there's several stores in the Atlanta area. Some of it's stuff that had been sitting for a while, and might need a need a new home to get some different some more eyes on it. Some of it is might be some like Mexican strats and stuff that are pretty easy to find, just so that there's on their grand opening they want to be able to have used gear options as well. It is inevitable when you buy and sell enough used guitars that some of those guitar cases are going to get left behind, and some customers decide to buy a new case with it instead. Some customers they already have a case, they don't want the crappy one that we got in with it, whatever it may be. So it's inevitable that you're going to wind up with a surplus of used guitar cases. And then when that happens, then you pull all those out and you stack them up and stick a sign on them for $40 a piece or whatever it may be, and then move through them. And we did that several times, and every time we did, we tended to move through them pretty quick. But it's more of a clearing out space kind of thing than it is anything else. Chaotic One says, I get used cases from pawn shops. Man, I haven't even been in a pawn shop. And here, that's the thing, Indianapolis, unfortunately, you kind of got to go down to some pretty rough neighborhoods, to get to where the pawn shops are. And, every pawn shop that I've been in here in this area, none of them, they've got some cheap Squire guitars and stuff like that hanging up that, but that's about the extent of it. I don't recall ever finding anything noteworthy. There's one time I saw an ESP on the wall, and looking back, it was probably cheap enough that I probably should have bought it. But I don't know. But I got to drive pretty far out of my way to find a pawn shop here in my area. Yeah, I mean, it's not as easy as you think to run a Guitar Center store. They're a large corporation, and particularly the newer stores. But those are they hire brand new staffs right off the street. From the get go, they'll bring in veterans from surrounding stores when they from the grand opening events. They'll bring in some veterans from around to train up the new staff, but some stores are more inexperienced than others, so you just got to be patient with them. They'll sometimes it takes some time for them to gel. When is the best time to get a decent deal at GC? I suppose the best time would be, whenever the best coupon of the year is out. That's usually around the holiday season. So, beyond that, you want a good deal? Ask, see what they say. There's some things they can discount, and some things they can't. So, there are brands that do not allow them to, their vendors to discount them. Bose, Apple, among others. It's actually a pretty long list that they can't discount. So, and that list is growing more and more. And I think the reason why a lot of retailers do that is, because that prevents them from having to compete against themselves. So, Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, I mean, you got to think, when you're a Guitar Center, when you're working a guitar floor at Guitar Center, there's a lot of people that are coming in and out, and when I was not a babysitter. I was not even though a lot of kids' parents seem to think otherwise because they would dump their kids off on Saturday afternoon, leave them there for a few hours while they did their shopping, and then come back and get them. And when you got that many teenagers coming in, putting their hands on on everything they can reach, parts get broken off and fall off, and start missing, and cables get shorted out, and and knobs off of amps. That kind of thing happens. And sometimes it's just too much for for the staff to keep up with. And if something on the floor, if there's if a switch breaks off of a guitar, that's hanging out on the floor, what are you supposed to do? In most cases, there's only one tech, and because of vendor agreements with with Gibson and PRS and those companies, you can't just go replacing parts on it without going through the proper the proper channels with the warranty claims and things like that. And warranty claims are a lot different when it's owned by the store rather than a customer. So people give Guitar Center a hard time about having stuff like that out on the floor. But there comes a point, one, you can't control it, and two, when it comes to fixing it, it's not really the easiest thing in the world to do. People think, oh, you just solder on a new switch. No, you don't. There's a big long list of protocols that you got to go through to get that taken care of. And it's and none of it's easy. Jack Attack says, your opinion on Gibson turnover to new management. Finally. I actually did a video on this here about, I don't know, not too long after it was announced. And you know what? And so far, I think they're absolutely doing the right thing, because they've already discontinued the 2019 line of guitars. If they went through a thing there towards the end of the Henry era where they were adding model years to everything and coming out with a new version of everything every year. Now there is no longer, there's still a few of them left out there, but there is no longer a 2019 Gibson Les Paul Standard for $33.99, by the way. Now there is merely a Gibson Les Paul Standard with a 50s neck and a Gibson Les Paul Standard with a 60s neck, both of which are $25.99. And no more. They all have 2A flame maple tops on it. They're not putting the 5A stuff on it anymore that they should just be reserving for the custom shop anyway. So they've all got a pretty standard looking 2A top, your basic set of features you would expect to see on a Les Paul Standard, without all the push pulls and circuit boards and and all that kind of stuff. It's got the features that everybody expects to see in a Gibson Les Paul, and no model year. So, meaning that this is what a Gibson Les Paul is supposed to be, and this is what it's going to be. And they also went back to the what had become the standard serial number system, where the first and the fifth digit will tell you the year instead of changing that up every year like they had been. So no, I think new management came in and did what they're doing it right. They're heading back in the right direction. And if you're new to my channel, especially a couple of years ago, you should you might not be aware. I mean, I was very critical of Gibson for a long time. And yeah, I still make fun of the reverse flying V, but just because that was another genius Henry idea, and it's become a pretty good joke. But yeah, no, I think they're absolutely on the right track, and I'm excited for them, and I'm happy to see it. It's what really was what everybody wanted. Pardon me. VIP Rideshare says, I have a TS9DX Turbo. Should I get rid of it? I've never been able to get a good tube screamer sound out of it. TS90X Turbo, should you get rid of it? Yeah, absolutely. If you want to get rid of it, send it to me. I want one of those pedals. That's actually my favorite tube screamer. So that like button. Oh boy, let's see. Yes, please, hit the like button if you haven't already. It's greatly appreciated. Or if you don't like it, please, if you don't like me, please feel free to hit the dislike button, because YouTube views both the same. I haven't looked there. All right, cool. Alrighty. Well, we've been at this here a little over an hour, and the truth is I still have a couple of videos to edit, and matter of fact, I've still got, you guys can't see it, but I've actually got a camera and my camera light set up behind me because I still have to finish recording one. So I am going to get to work. And again, sorry for the delay here this morning, but for those of you that were patient and hung in and managed to stop by, again, your loyalty is greatly appreciated. So I am heading out. In the meantime, you guys, again, thank you for hanging out as well. Don't forget to check out the video tomorrow morning. That is going to hit at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and I've already forgotten which one it is. I've had to shuffle some things around recently because the YouTube, or it's not the YouTube, I guess in this case it is the YouTube police, but more particular the copyright police, blocked a video. So a video that I had up, that is, they are not allowing me to post. I even tried to delete it and repost it with not even monetized, and they still won't let it. They still won't let it through. So there is liable to be a gap in the upcoming video schedule here in the next couple of weeks. So let's see. Oh, Bob Bitchin joins us here. Hey, Bob. Hope we were actually just wrapping up. I hope you've been hanging out here with us for a while, and you're not just now jumping on to catch the end. So, cool. Happy Saturday, everybody. Take care. Thanks for hanging, and I will talk to you all here real soon.